Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about driving examiners, what their job is, what your job is, and how to pass your road test first time, regardless of class, whether it's a passenger vehicle, truck, bus, or motorcycle. It's all the same. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about driving examiners and how to pass your road test first time. We have a few people here already. Douglas is here, Sniper Swiper is here, Penny's here, and if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the world and what class of license you are going for. And if you're new to Smart Drive Test helps new drivers get a license and veteran drivers to remain crash-free and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So if you're new here, consider subscribing as well. Hit that thumbs up and leave us a comment. We try to get to questions every day. Haven't been too successful, but I'm going to put a new effort on that. So Jonathan here is from New York City, and Jonathan helps out as well with the questions and answers. So, and Riviera wanted to say thank you for all your videos. I'm taking my driver's license less than a month, and your videos have given me confidence to take it. You are the best personal instructor. You are most welcome, and we're glad we can help out. Rosie, I failed my road test. No, Rosie, you didn't fail. You were simply unsuccessful. You're going to do it again, and you're going to get it. So Tommy's here from Connecticut, and as I said, if you're new here, just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you are going for. Michael's here from Los Angeles, and Michael is getting a Class A license down there. Bricks for Wheels is Corey. Corey is tuning in from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And just bear with me here 1 second. I'm just going to turn up the contrast here just a smidge on... It's always a bit tough because it looks different on my computer than what it does on the streaming here on YouTube. So, okay, Prezada, I'm online watching from Coquitlam. Coquitlam is a suburb of Vancouver, British Columbia, so on the west coast here in Canada. All right, Salvador from Florida. I'm going this Wednesday at 10 for my Class B license. Excellent. And Class B, Salvador, Class B in Florida is that a bus license or is that a straight truck license? Just let me know there. Okay, so today again we're talking about driving instructors, what their job is, how not to be intimidated by driving instructors because you are in very close proximity to driving instructors. So yeah, so we're going to talk about that. Jonathan, yeah, no scars today. Jonathan, last week was March break, and I went for a road trip to Seattle with my kids, and we went up the Needle and then went over to Vancouver Island, visited some friends over there. So Sam is here from the Bronx in New York City. Sam is a driving instructor with Rookie Auto Driving School there in the Bronx. Mamor, I failed my road test by taking off in third gear on an uphill and you stalled it. Yeah, unfortunately, sorry about that. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, unfortunately, nerves are going to get the best of you on your road tests and those types of things. Tandoc, I'm about to take my Class 7 road test tomorrow. Any tips to pass my test? Yes, we're certainly going to talk about that, and you're certainly in the right place talking about driving examiners and what you need to do for the purposes of passing your road test. Salvador, dump truck for the county. Excellent. That's awesome. Belinda's here. I've learned a lot and still learning watching your videos. Thank you. That's awesome. Office. Hey, I'm from Niagara Falls. I'm scared of my G2 tips on parking. Yes, we can help you with that as well. So stick around for all of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the PowerPoint presentation here. Just bear with me 1 sec because I didn't set it up as I should have there. There we go, and plus, and there we go. Okay, so we're ready, and we're back. And Mike is starting his Class A beginning in April. Kyle Crasto is here. Kyle is are you still at the University of Toronto, Kyle? Or, yeah, or am I remembering correctly that you moved to York and you're doing something there? Belinda's in Toronto as well, excellent. Prezada, I have an issue with shoulder checks. I always double check and apply the brake to make sure it's clear, but the examiner told me to check one time, don't press the brake. Yes, please don't. And the other thing, Prezada, is Corey will put up the video on shoulder checking there, and that will help you out with that. The light was yellow and it turned red as I was still driving the intercept. I ran the red light. Yeah, automatic fail. Yeah, unfortunately, Rosie, yellow lights can be difficult for new drivers, and that will pose some challenges. But there's a video here. Corey will get that up for you on yellow lights as well. And Kyle, yes, at York University. And where are we? We're March break here, so you must be coming up pretty close to exams, Kyle. So are you getting ready for all of that? Excellent. Okay, so here we go. PowerPoint presentation, switching over, and driving examiners. So we're talking about driving examiners, the people that assess you. And the first thing that I want to say about driving examiners are not driving instructors. Okay, let me just repeat that. They are not driving instructors. Driving examiners are gatekeepers. They are the ones that assess your ability to drive an automobile and pass a road test, and they grant you your license. So we're going to talk about their job. We're going to talk about your job in terms of being successful on passing a road test. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, as I said, helps new drivers get a license, veteran drivers remain crash-free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. And I am Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s, running long haul into the United States from Canada. In 1997, I became a licensed commercial driving instructor. My expertise is in air brakes, actually, and most of my career was spent teaching people how to drive tractor-trailer units. But I teach everything from motorcycles, cars, buses, and trucks. And in 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a doctorate, PhD in legal history, which, for those of you who may or may not know, is the study of courts, policing, and prison. And my expertise, oddly enough, is in policing as it relates to traffic. And as when I was attending the University of Melbourne, I drove for Greyhound there in Australia, and as well for one of the regional bus lines called V Line, which is the Victoria. It's an interstate bus company that hooks up the trains there. So that was the other thing that I did. Okay, so if you're learning to drive and you're just getting going in learning how to drive, definitely have a look at this playlist, Learn to Drive, Pass Your Road Test First Time. This will give you the fundamentals that you need to put in place to be successful on your road test. So definitely have a look at that. Corey will put up the link for us as well. So driving examiners, their job is to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. And we're going to show you how to do that. And as I've said before in other videos, there are 4 components to any road test anywhere in the world for any class of license. And those 4 components are space management, speed management, communication, and observation. And you must have good space management. If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. You must have speed management, and for the purposes of a road test, it is the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less, is what you need to do. You need to communicate effectively with other road users to be predictable and proactive, and you need to observe, and that is taking in the information from road signs, and you need to look far down the road to interpret traffic patterns and predict the individual behavior of other road users and knowing what they're going to do. For example, if there's a pedestrian standing near a pedestrian crosswalk, it's likely that he or she is going to activate the lights and they're probably going to cross. So those are types of things that you need to be looking for when you're driving the vehicle, and you need to be proactive and slowing down and getting ready to stop so that pedestrian can cross the road. Now, your job for the purposes of passing a road test is to take away the examiner's right to fail you. Nothing more, nothing less. And how do you do that? So the first thing you need to do is you need to have first impression. And what is first impressions? How are you dressed? Did you rock up at the driving examiner, at the driving center rather, and meet the driving examiner, and you got ripped jeans on, and you got your baseball cap on sideways, and you got 12 piercings in your face and those types of things? All of that is going to have an impact on the examiner. And I would suggest to you that if you do have piercings and those types of things, maybe you might consider taking them off. Maybe leave some of your bling at home and whatnot. Think about first impressions. It does impact the driving examiner, because if your driving is a little bit questionable and they're kind of questioning who you are as a person, then that may influence their decision, either good or bad. The next thing is the vehicle, and make sure that that you do a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle and you clean the vehicle before you go down, especially if you're not using a driving school car. If you're using a personal vehicle, make sure you clean it. I'll talk a little bit more about the pre-trip inspection here in a moment. Myths. around driving tests. Don't wear sunglasses. The number of driving instructors that I have heard say you can't wear sunglasses on a road test is false. If it is sunny and you require sunglasses to be able to see well while you're driving, wear sunglasses. I personally am really photosensitive, and if it's a really sunny day out, I cannot drive without sunglasses. I find it just painful, so I have to have sunglasses. That's a myth. Don't engage in conversation. I would say that you don't engage in conversation with the driving instructor, or the driving examiner rather, beyond pleasantries and clarification until you're near the end of your road test. And if the driving examiner engages in conversation, then you can do that, because you can be pretty sure that you were successful in your road test. But as well, conversation is going to distract you on your road test, so I wouldn't engage in conversation unless you're really comfortable driving the vehicle. Okay? Not a lot, but some people say that examiners work to fail you. That's simply not true. Examiners have quotas. That's not true either. And I have to speak English perfectly. No, you don't have to speak English perfectly. And if English is not your first language on your road test, simply inform the examiner before you go out for your road test that English is not your first language. Or if you have some other disability that you have to wear glasses, or people with disabilities may have a different, they might have a GPS unit in the vehicle because they can't read the speedometer that's in the car. Those types of things. If you have anything that's out of the ordinary, tell the examiner before you go on your road test, and the examiners sometimes will make concessions for those things. So these are some of the myths surrounding driving examiners. The vehicle pre-trip inspection. Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you go down to the licensing center, because you don't want to be disqualified for taking your road test because, say for example, you have a brake light out, or the seatbelt on the passenger side doesn't work, or something like that, because they will do a mini pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. They are going to check all the lights, all the signals. They're going to check the windshield wipers. They're going to check the horn. And it's a short pre-trip inspection. It takes about 5 minutes for them to do it. But if the vehicle's not safe, the driving examiner will deny you your road test. The other thing that they're going to test you on is they're going to test you on your hand signals, especially if you're riding a motorcycle. Now that we're coming into spring and people are going to be doing their motorcycle license tests, so make sure that you know your hand signals, and Corey will put up that video for you as well. Okay, road signs. This is what I was talking about previously, about taking away the examiner's right to fail you, and you want to be proactive and you want to be predictable. This falls into the two categories of communication and observation for the purposes of your road test. So you need to be looking down the road, reading the road signs, and not just reading the road signs, but incorporating that information into your driving. So lane end signs, you need to be moving over and changing lanes. Stop signs, you need to stop at the correct stopping position, and Corey will put up the video on that one as well. School zone signs, know that there's 5 or 6 different school zone signs, and you need to be able to interpret those and read those, and only the school zone sign is the one that you slow down to the posted school zone when school is in session. So if it's summer holidays or March break or something like that right now, you don't have to obey the school zone signs. So whether that's 20 miles an hour, whether that's 30 kilometers an hour as it is here in Canada, and as well road markings, you need to interpret road markings and know what road markings mean, especially for purposes of stopping at the correct position at a stop sign intersection. So know that as well. Okay, for those of you taking a passenger vehicle test, slow speed maneuvers. 7/8 of the road test is in a forward motion. 1/8 is slow speed maneuvers, which is your parallel parking, 2-point reverse turn, 3-point reverse turn, or a 3-point turn rather, and reverse stall parking. Those are going to be your slow speed maneuvers. So you can be almost guaranteed that anywhere in North America, anywhere in the world, the slow speed maneuvers that you are going to be required to take for the purposes of your road test are parallel parking, 3-point turn, and reverse stall parking. You must be able to do those 3 at minimum. And if you can't do those 3, it's not likely you're going to be successful in your road test, because it's those slow speed maneuvers that give most drivers difficulty when taking a road test. And as well, slow speed maneuvers, if you do these well, this is going to improve your overall driving for the purposes of passing a road test and taking away the examiner's right to fail you. All right, lane positioning. This is another thing that you need to do for the purposes of a road test. You need to be able to change lanes well, because it doesn't matter where you're going to take your road test, you're going to have to change lanes, even if it's just to make a left-hand turn, and you're going to have to turn into a left-hand turning lane. I don't know too many places. It'd have to be a pretty small town that you're going to be taking your road test. And most places that have a driving center that are actually going to test you for the purposes of a road test are going to have at least 1 or 2 traffic lights. It's so you're going to have these types of maneuvers that you're going to have to do at complex intersections. So you're going to have to be able to move the vehicle laterally, you're going to have to be able to shoulder check, and you're going to have to be able to communicate well with other traffic. All right, so driving examiners assess your competency. They assess your ability. So if you make a minor mistake, for example, say you're 15 inches away from the curb, they're going to assign maybe 5 or 6 demerit points. If you turn your wheels the wrong way when you're hill parking, you might lose 2 demerit points. So there's 2 ways that you can pass the test. You don't accumulate enough demerit points, and most places are around 45 or 50 demerit points for the purposes of a passenger vehicle test, or you automatically fail. And there really isn't too many ways that you can automatically fail unless you commit a dangerous action. Dangerous action, you turn and the gap isn't big enough, or you risk a collision or something like that. It's not often that students fail a road test simply for a dangerous action. Oftentimes they accumulate too many demerit points and they're not successful on the road test. The other thing at the end of the test that driving examiners do is that they will give you feedback and they will debrief you on your abilities for driving, and they'll give you some areas for improvement. For example, you can improve your turns a little bit, you can speed up a little bit and control the vehicle, be looking farther down the road, or you need to be interpreting road signs better and taking in that information and following the directions of road signs and whatnot. So they're going to assess your competency at the end, and they're going to give you feedback. Regardless of whether you pass or fail, they're still going to give you some sort of feedback. But again, know that driving examiners assess you according to a checklist. It has to be as objective as possible, because they get a lot of flack from people who are unsuccessful, and they get a lot of flack from driving schools too, and instructors who are like, oh, you were unfair to my student. A lot of times driving examiners know that they need to keep it as objective as possible, because they need to be able to justify their decision in passing or failing students for the purposes of a road test. So that's essentially what driving examiners do, and we can talk about that a little bit more in terms of CDL licenses, commercial driver's licenses, and we can talk about that in terms of motorcycles and buses as well. So good luck on your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And we'll just head back over here. Here we go, and we're back, and there we go. Okay, and we'll answer some more questions here. And Sam is here. All right, so just catching up here. Can you pass if you mess up during parallel parking, or do you get it perfect? No, Rosie, if you don't have to be perfect on your parallel parking. You can make mistakes on your parallel parking. For example, if you're too far from the curb, they're just going to assign demerit points. So for example, if you're 15 inches from the curb, they're just going to assign demerit points. They're not going to fail you on that. So, and if you have to move up and adjust once, then you can still be successful on your road test. All right. So Janet's here from Ontario. Hello, Janet. How are you? All right, and Corey's got those videos up for you. Thanks, Corey, for getting those up. Jamar, hi, Rick. What's the speed limit at residential? One instructor told me 40 kilometers an hour and under, and one told me 50 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted. Okay, excellent question, Jammer. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, the posted speed limit, or the speed limit inside a city area, is 50 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted, or for those of you in the United States, it's going to be 30 miles an hour unless otherwise posted, and outside of the city, it's going to be 80 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted, or 50 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. So if you don't know what the speed sign is, and you haven't seen one for a while, then just do that speed limit until you actually see a speed sign, and then you know what to go back to in terms of how fast you need to be traveling for the purposes of a road test. Actually, Jonathan, that's not the right information about not telling the examiner what you're doing. You can have a running commentary for the purposes of your road test, and I do encourage a lot of students to do that, because if you have a running commentary and you do something and the examiner doesn't see your head move, for example, and you're off scanning on a pedestrian across the road and you're making a left-hand turn and that pedestrian is over there, then the examiner doesn't have to guess what the student's doing. The student is doing a running commentary. Oh, I'm looking at the pedestrian. I'm looking at the approaching traffic. I'm judging my gap. Those types of things. I really encourage students who are taking road tests, students who are learning how to drive, to do a running commentary as well. In terms of adult education, they've done studies to show that the best way for adults to learn is by doing and talking about what they're doing when they're doing it. And that way they're going to retain 80 to 90% of the information that they're trying to learn and incorporate in their own learning process. So it's a really good way, and I don't agree with that. I do agree with that in terms of police, if you get pulled over and whatnot. So okay, and yeah, but what I'm saying, Jonathan, is in terms of conversation, don't have a conversation with the driving examiner. Okay, all right. So there we go. Otenya, can 2 or 3 demerit points cause a fail on a road test? It can if you've accumulated enough demerit points, but it's not likely that 2 or 3. Most road tests for passenger vehicles are up in the 40 to 45 to 50 demerit points before you're unsuccessful on a road test. So you have to make a number of mistakes depending on what the error is. So for example, say that you misjudged a gap on a left-hand turn. That's going to accrue severe penalty. That's going to be like 20 points. Whereas if you're too far from the curb when you parallel park, that's only 5 points. If you turn your wheels the wrong way on hill parking, that's only 2 points. Right? So it depends on where you are, depends on who the examiner is, and what their point system is. So that's what you're going to have to do. All right. Corey, here in Winnipeg, they will stop the test for not parallel parking up to standard. They will stop the test. So, Corey, what is the standard in Winnipeg? Because I haven't heard that before. That's a new one for me. Okay, Belinda, I'm a new driver, and for a few weeks I've been driving since I passed my license. I've been so anxious too, but I'm told myself every morning I'm driving to work. I can do this. And can be safe. And yes, that's excellent, Belinda. You're doing really well, and that's what you need to be doing. You need to be giving yourself that sort of positive self-talk, that motivational self-talk, and you can definitely do it. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on how to buy a used vehicle, not a new vehicle, and I was giving you some of the information about how to go about doing that, and some of the things you should be looking for when you're buying a secondhand vehicle. And yesterday, I went and looked at another vehicle. It was a 2009 BMW. And the reason I didn't buy it is because I pulled there's covers on where the kid seats hook into the back seat, and I pulled those plastic covers off, and there's all kinds of dirt and filth and paper and garbage in behind there and those types of things. And as well, same thing in the trunk. You lifted the cover up, and underneath in the storage, same thing. And there was leather seats in it, and the driver's seat, the leather seat was cracked. And one of the things that tells you is that leather seats, I don't know whether people know this about leather seats in vehicles or not, those types of things, you have to condition the leather. You have to buy leather condition, and you need to do it, every year. Otherwise, what happens is as you're sliding into the seat and back out and those types of things, eventually the leather will dry out, and then it cracks and it breaks. And so that just indicates to me the dirt in the back of the vehicle and the seat, that the vehicle wasn't well looked after. And then they had a car report on it as well, and they said it had 3 minor crashes as well. The dealership had done some work on it as well, and I just said no. I said the poor old vehicle had not been looked after, even though it had fairly low kilometers and it was what I was looking for. It hadn't been looked after. And Corey will stick the video up for you there as well on used vehicles, purchasing a used vehicle. So yeah, that's my experience in looking for a new vehicle. So we're looking for a vehicle to replace the buggy. We're going to buy something new here. So if anybody has any ideas or a vehicle that I can purchase, that'd be great. All right. Okay, Belinda, my work is 15 kilometers one way until I got my self-confidence. Brandon, hey there, Rick. I have spoke to you in a bit, but when I went for my road test, I passed. It felt relieving, and I'm so proud. Thanks for your help. You are most welcome. That's awesome that you were able to pass, Brandon. Congratulations on that. And if you'd head over to the Smart Drive Test and sign up for the 100K program, that would be really great as well. Okay, can we say to the examiner, I'm not feeling okay to take this turn, as I noticed the examiner was asking to make turn just with 1 minute or 2 minutes from the turn. Okay, okay, you can. This is again. This is a really good question, and it's difficult for me to answer this question definitively for you. The answer that I'm going to give you is not going to encounter. It's not going to cover every situation. However, there are going to be times that the examiner is going to say to you, "I want you to turn left at the next block," and the traffic is simply not going to let you over into that left-hand lane to make in preparation for you to make that left-hand turn. So that's going to be one of your challenges, because the difficulty with that is that the interpretation of that, because you need to make the maneuver safe and you need to do it without endangering yourself or endangering other road users. So you can, if you can't make it over and you think it's dangerous and it's beyond your ability, you can simply go through the intersection. It is the examiner's job to get you back around and do that. However, again, you need to come back to the point, the very fundamental of what the examiner is doing. You need to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic. And if you don't do that, it's going to be unlikely that the examiner is going to say, "Oh, you didn't do that." And that's open to a degree of interpretation on the part of the examiner. So, you can't just willy-nilly say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to make that left turn because you didn't give me enough notice." One of the things that driving examiners are really good at, and I'll make this point very clear, driving examiners know that they're working with students who are nervous. They know that you're nervous. They know that your skill level is not at a high level. They know to give you lots and lots of notice when they're giving you directions. They're going to give you at least 2 blocks of notice. They're not going to be a half a block from where they want you to turn and say, "Oh, I want you to turn left at the next traffic light, which is a half a block ahead." Driving examiners will not do that because it puts them in danger. It puts you in danger, and it's not safe. So they're going to give you lots and lots of notice where they want you to turn and what maneuvers they want you to execute. So know that for the purposes, and that was a really good question, okay? All right, Panas, how are you? Panas, what would happen if you want another examiner because the one I have is rude to me? Panas, there are situations where driving examiners are going to be rude, and I have had numerous students say to me that the driving examiner was rude, and they are human beings as well, and they do have bad days and those types of things, and that's unfortunate. But I'm going to tell you right now that most driving examiners are beyond reproach. Let me repeat that. Most driving examiners are beyond reproach. And if Sam is still here, I'll get Sam's opinion on that as well. If the examiner is rude, it's important for you at that juncture to dial down on your fortitude and just ignore him or her being rude at you and do what you need to do to pass your road test. Drive the vehicle well and just ignore them. And students have said that to me before, that, "Oh, the driving examiner was rude, the driving examiner yelled at me," these types of things. And, I can't imagine that type of thing, and how horrible of an experience is that for a driver taking a test, okay? It is beyond inexcusable. It's just not something that is very cool for driving examiners to do. But you can't launch a complaint against these people because, unfortunately, they're well protected and they have a lot of practice at doing this. So my suggestion to you is to put your energies into passing your road test, doing everything you can to being successful on your road test and passing your road test. And unfortunately, if they say that you're not successful, you're going to need to come back and you're going to need to do it again. Okay? All right. Corey, where there's no curb, stop as far as possible off the traveled part of the road. Don't stop where you will block an entrance or intersection or other traffic. Exactly, yes. Stop so you are parallel to the curb and not more than 45 centimeters away. Position 1. Okay, now Corey, if you're more than 45 centimeters away, 45 centimeters is a long way from the curb. Okay, that's a half a meter. That's 45 centimeters. Just bear with me here while I look this up, because I'm curious what that is in feet and inches. Centimeters, feet, inches. Let's go inches. Okay, so 45 is 17 inches. Okay, that's a long way. 17 inches is like this far. 17 inches. 45, that's a long way. Even if you're really bad at parallel parking, you should still be able to get within 45 centimeters of the curb. All right. Okay, I went for a mock road test a few weeks ago, and the lady said I would not need another mock road test, and I'm going to go for my real road test. Excellent. Congratulations, Vinny. We're really happy about that, so that's great. Okay, happy. If the examiner tells you to turn right, but you mistakenly turn left, would you lose points? That's funny. You may lose points, happy, because hopefully that you and the driving examiner can kind of have a laugh about that. Because it does happen, right? We're nervous, we're under tension, we're anxious, and we mix up our right and left. And one of the things that we learn as driving instructors, and driving examiners learn it as well, is that when they tell you to go right or go left, they go left, go right. Okay, they hand gesture, because students are much more likely to follow the hand gesture than they are what you're saying. Because remember, in terms of communication, when we communicate with other people, 80% of it is body language. No, 70% of it is body language. 15% is tone, and 15% of what we say is what we add, the words actually coming out of our mouth. So we, as driving instructors and driving examiners, have figured out that when we want students to go in a certain direction or turn in a certain direction, we gesture with either the left or right hand. Okay, so that's gonna help you out as well. Okay. Mohinder, I have exceeded the speed limit from 40 to 42. My instructor started yelling at me. I'm from Regina. Okay, Mohinder, was it your driving instructor, or was it the driving examiner that yelled at you? Because 42, that's not going to happen. Most of the time you're allowed a tolerance over. It's not that you're going to speed. What we're looking for in terms of speed management is the fact that you're only going to do that for 5 or 10 seconds, and then you're getting the vehicle under control again. You're getting it back to the posted speed limit that you should be driving. All right, so that's what you need to be doing. Okay, Ryan Green. Hey there, Rick. How are you doing? I'm great, Ryan. I also wanted to let you know that I also passed my road test. Excellent as well. I wouldn't have been able to do it without your help. And we're really glad that we could help you out, Ryan. And definitely head over and sign up for the 100K campaign and get yourself in for the draw. And we're going to do that draw next week. We're going to get caught up here on some stuff with the channel and whatnot. So I've got some time next week. I'm going to get all that going. All right, Vinny, I'm taking my G2 test in Sarnia this upcoming week on Tuesday. Excellent. Congratulations. Let us know on the day, Vinny, and we'll certainly be sending you energies and prayer for you to pass there. Not that you're going to need it, because you've done lots of practice. Syed, I put a mark on my hand, left and right for left. Excellent. And then, of course, there's left, left over there. There we go. Okay. Mohinder, the examiner yelled at you. That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that, Mohinder. Okay, Betty, how long can one stay before going for a road test after you passed your written test? Betty, if you're part of the graduated licensing program, the GLP, you have to have your learner's license for a minimum of 1 year before you go for your road test. Okay, so that's the way that it works. Ollie, I have my G1 license. Can I drive car on the highway? G1 license. No, you can't. Okay, you have a learner's license. Allie, you have to have a mentor in the vehicle with you. Somebody, and you're in Ontario with a G1 license, so you have to have somebody who has 4 years of driving experience as a full licensed driver with you. And on the Ontario driver's license, it was like this a few years ago. Maybe somebody from Ontario, maybe Janet can tell me this. If you look under the picture on the Ontario driver's license, there will be 4 dots underneath the picture, and those 4 dots indicate that driver has been a fully licensed driver for more than 4 years, and they can serve as a mentor for drivers in the province of Ontario. I don't know if there's any other state or province or other place in the world that does that in terms of the 4 dots underneath the picture. If anybody knows, just let me know there. Okay. All right. Panas, I would go with Jonathan's advice there that, yeah, you could probably get arrested and charged with assault. You might even spend some time in prison. I wouldn't do any of that because all of this stuff goes back into the driving center. And here's the other piece that I'm going to give you in terms of if you're not successful on your road test. If you're not successful on your road test, and the examiner fails you, when you go back to take your test the next time, you're going to have a different driving examiner. It's unlikely that you're going to get the same driving examiner twice. Even in the United States, in Australia, Canada, Europe, if you fail your road test, if you're unsuccessful on your road test, the next time you go back, they will give you a different driving examiner. So know that for the purposes of going back for the next time. Okay? Kyle, the only time you can drive on the highway with G1 is with a driving instructor. Yes, in the province of Ontario, if you're driving on a highway, on a 401, 400 highway, you must be with a licensed driving instructor there, okay? And they must have a licensed driving instructor, okay? Okay, Vinny, what car does it matter what car? No, it doesn't matter what car you take on a road test, Vinny. I would suggest that you take a mid-size vehicle. Don't take like a big 1500 Dodge Ram or something like that. It just makes it more difficult because, you know, you're trying to get a fairly big vehicle into smaller spaces and those types of things. So I would do that. Now, just on the note of motorcycles, again, do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. For those of you going bus and truck, most of you are going to be going with a driving school. It's just easier because it's complicated with a CDL license. You have to do a pre-trip inspection. If you're driving a tractor trailer, you have to unhook, you have to back up. So there's lots of other things going on with a CDL license, and I'm going to start doing a lot more videos on that here pretty soon, and it'll go through all of that for you in terms of helping you to pass a road test for a CDL vehicle, okay? Okay, Fee, which is safer for a new driver? Front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive? Now, my suggestion, Fee, for a new driver would be front-wheel drive vehicles. There's numerous benefits in a front-wheel drive vehicle, especially if you're driving in the wintertime. Now, obviously, all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive are going to have benefits as well. All-wheel drive is going to give you a lot more traction most of the time. But my suggestion just for a new driver, you know, get yourself a front-wheel drive, get yourself a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic or something like that, and those will be front-wheel drive, and those are really going to help you out. Okay? AJ, if you are a CDL licensed driver, would that give you a discount on insurance? Great question, AJ. And let me tell you, my frustration in buying insurance as a licensed driving instructor. Unfortunately, AJ, the way that insurance works for a vehicle is it's how long you've been insured. It has nothing to do with your driving experience. It has nothing to do whether you're a commercial licensed CDL holder or whether you're a licensed driving instructor. I'm a licensed driving instructor. When I came to the province of British Columbia, I was paying as much as a novice driver simply because I'd been out of the country for 5 years and didn't have it, and I hadn't owned a vehicle when I was out of the country. So I couldn't show that I had insurance, and it was very expensive because I didn't have insurance. So it has nothing to do with your license and the license that you hold, which is frustrating, okay, in terms of buying insurance. Ryan, I actually just saw the link that you sent. Thanks, Rick. Oh, you're most welcome, Ryan. All the best. Okay. AJ, have I ever failed a written or road test? No, I didn't, AJ, but I should have. When I was in Australia, I had to do my heavy rigid license, which is comparable to a tractor trailer license, and I kind of plowed into a roundabout because I was new to roundabouts and I wasn't good at reading them. And the examiner, which in Australia, it's the driving schools that do the road tests and give you the license, and the examiner he's kind of, oh, I didn't really see that. So there was a bit of luck in terms of passing my road test. For that, but at this point I've not been unsuccessful on a road test, but there were probably a couple of times that I probably shouldn't have passed when I did. Okay. All right. Raging. I suck at reverse parking. I'm always crooked. Same with parallel parking. Any tips? Yes. When you're backing up or you get the vehicle straight, raging, one of the things you can do is look forward, and oftentimes, especially in a parking lot, there will be stalls directly in front of you. You can line up with those stalls. The other thing is keep track of your steering wheel. Most steering wheels in passenger vehicles are going to rotate 1.5 revolutions in either left or right. And when the steering wheel is straight, the logo will be upright, and you'll know that the wheels are straight on the vehicle. So just practice that, and then, you know, it's gonna, you know, even experienced drivers are not always going to be straight in a space when they're backing up or parallel parking, those types of things. The other thing that I would suggest, and Corey will put this up for you, is the Ohio maneuverability test. Do that exercise in a parking lot if you're going for your road test, and that will help you to get the vehicle straight and figure out where the vehicle is in space and place, because that's what's challenging right now, is you're not completely comfortable with where the vehicle is in space and place, and that's why it's a little bit crooked. If it's a little bit crooked, I wouldn't worry about it too much, because they're not going to deduct any points for that on a road test. They're not looking for you to be perfectly straight. They're just looking for you to be able to do that and get it into the space for the purposes of a road test. Elamu, I'm nervous. Everybody's going to be nervous. It's just a matter of, you know, breathing. I can do this, those types of things. Okay, Shady, I passed my driving test yesterday. Your videos are extremely helpful. That's excellent, Shady. We're glad that we could do that and help you out. And Sam is back. Sam, the question I had before, what was the question? I had a question that I was going to ask you about. Yes. What has been your success rate in launching a grievance against the driving examiner? Have you ever had any success with launching a grievance against the driving instructor? Okay, Panas, what's a moving violation? Panas, a moving violation is, for example, you are speeding. That is a moving violation. If you cut somebody off, that's a moving violation. Anything where the vehicle is moving and you have violated the Highway Traffic Act. So most states, most provinces, driving is governed or regulated according to the Highway Traffic Act. Turning contrary to a sign. So, for example, left-hand turns are prohibited at an intersection and you turn left, that's a moving violation. And if a police officer pulls you over and gives you a ticket, that's what they're going to give you a ticket for. Non-moving violations are, for example, you parked in the wrong place. That's a non-moving violation. Okay? All right. Corey, you need to answer that question. Yep, there we go. Okay, Jonathan added to that. Excellent. All right. All right, the other thing, Elamu, is fear and anxiety, how to reduce fear and anxiety. Corey will put that video up for you with 9 tips on how to do that. And just remember the 4 most powerful words in the English language. I can do this. And that will, you know, it's self-motivational talk. It's the belief in yourself and boosting your own self-confidence. We're all nervous, right? There's things that get all of us. For example, last week we went up in the Space Needle. I am terrified of artificial heights. In buildings, it really gets me. You can put me up on the side of a mountain at 3,000 feet and I'm fine. But you go up the Space Needle, I'm just kind of standing back going, yeah, okay, we're here. It's the same thing for driving and other things, you know, that we do in life. But we need to do things that scare us, because that's what really increases our growth and makes us a better person. So, yes, just keep telling yourself, I can do this. Okay, Mohinder, can I book my test in a different city than where I live? Yes, you can. You can take your, as you know, in wherever you live in the province or wherever you live in the state, you can book your road test in whatever city that works for you to take your road test. Okay? Examiners. Sam, examiners. Driving examiners at the DOT. Have you ever been successful in launching a grievance against the driving examiner? Because I know that there was a driving school in Victoria here in British Columbia, and this owner had a real grievance against ICBC, and he was just going after them. I mean, he was doing all kinds of things like putting video cameras and recorders in the car and those types of things to try and go after them. And I was just like, wow, you are spending a lot of time. And you know, I worked at where they did policy, and these people were just like, you know, he was on their blacklist for sure. Okay. AJ, I'm going to take my written test for my CDL next Monday. I can't wait. You're going to do awesome. That's really great. There's the video Corey put up for fear and anxiety, how to reduce fear and anxiety. Shady, I live in Massachusetts. It's between 7 and 10 business days to receive license in the mail. Yes, it might even be up to 30 days, Shady, for the purposes of getting your license in the mail from the DOT. Okay. Jonathan says, once you pass the road test, the nervousness and anxiety is there, but it gets overwhelmed by the exciting feelings. Yes, and there's no better feeling, no better memory in your life than when you get your driver's license and you're able to go out on your own by yourself and be able to drive the vehicle. And a note of caution for those of you who are new or in the first year of your driving, that you are at high risk of being in a crash. So it's just a matter of taking your time, not succumbing to peer pressure on the highway, because know that driving is a social activity. There's a lot of pressure from other drivers for you to conform, to do what they're doing and those types of things. Hang on to what you learned in your driving instruction, and hang on to what you're doing in terms of, space management. I keep coming back to space management again and again and again. If you can manage space around your vehicle and not be near anything, it's less likely that you're going to be involved in a crash for the purposes of a road test. So know that as well. Okay? All right, so you've never encountered that. Well, that's great. I didn't really launch a grievance with a driving examiner, but I did have a bit of a run-in with a driving examiner. When we were taking students in for the road tests in Victoria, British Columbia, one of the things that tractor-trailer drivers had to do was to parallel park the rig next to a large concrete wall, and it was a difficult maneuver for new drivers learning how to drive a tractor-trailer unit. And we had this student, and he was kind of questionable about whether he should have been going for a road test or not. If it had been up to me, I would have said no. He needs another week in the truck before he goes for his road test. I would have postponed the road test because the skills were not high. Anyway, he went in, he was backing up, doing the parallel parking, and he was backing up too far, and he was going to strike the concrete wall. And I was standing there watching him back up with the driving examiner, and I intervened in the test. And as soon as a driving instructor intervenes in a road test, the road test is over and the student automatically fails. Know that. If for any of you who are considering being driving instructors, if you intervene in a road test, and I know that there are some places in the world where the driving instructor can actually sit in the back seat and go on the test. I have heard of this. But I was standing outside of the testing center, and he backed up. I went over. I was waving my arms for him to stop because he was going to drive the truck into the wall. Well, the driving examiner, the female driving examiner, got out of the passenger seat, beelined it into the building, and didn't even talk to me. And I was kind of like, what the heck just happened? Because the driving examiner didn't communicate to me what was going on. And so sort of in a couple of minutes, we went into the building, and the manager came out and the driving examiner came out together, and the driving examiner informed me that the student failed because I intervened in the road test. And I was like, well, if I hadn't intervened, the student would have ran into the wall. So know that for anybody who's going to become a driving instructor, that if you do that, that's what's going to happen. Okay. Panas, sometimes I heard driving test centers have you do a mental health evaluation. Is that true? Mental health evaluation at Panas, generally that's going to be for people who are older, who may have signs of dementia, people that may or may not know where they are. They'll do what's called a mini mental on people, and we did those when I worked at the hospital doing driver rehabilitation, where people who had strokes, people who'd lost limbs, older people who had showed signs of dementia, it wasn't me that did it. It was the occupational therapist that did it with them. And basically it was a mini mental, and basically they just asked you questions like, what day of the week is it? What is your name? Where are you? How did you get here? Those types of things. That's a mini mental. They might do that at a test center if they have questions about your ability to answer any of the questions or take the eye exam or fill out paperwork or whatnot. Then they might do that. But that is really up to the discretion of the people at the test center. All right. Rosie, great presentation. Any quick tips for the day before the road test? Yes, Rosie, day before the road test, get a good night's sleep. Look at which video do I want you to look at? Actually, what I would suggest to you, Rosie, is to go over to the Smart Drive Test website and get the checklist, and look down in the description there. You'll find the checklist, and that will give you the paperwork. So get a good night's sleep, eat a breakfast, do your pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, make sure all the lights are working, clean it up. You know, make sure you got nice clothes when you go down for your driving test tomorrow. Make sure the vehicle is in good nick, you know, everything's working, and make sure you have your paperwork with you, make sure you have your money, make sure you have your license with you, and those types of things, and you know, you're going to do fine. And just remember to breathe and keep telling yourself, I can do this, I'm going to pass. Okay, visualization, and you'll do awesome. Okay, AJ, you're worried about young, and actually what the job search video, have a look at that, AJ. That'll help you out. It's just a matter of beg, borrowing, stealing, getting a job, talking to as many people as you can. And AJ, make sure that when you start looking for a job as a CDL driver, that you start looking for a job even before you get your license, and start talking to companies and see who may be interested in helping you out and giving you a job. Belinda, great presentation, Rick. Thank you so much. You are most welcome, Belinda. We're glad we can help out. Yeah, it might have been a little bit different, Sam, with tractor trailers. And the other thing is that, as you mentioned previously, for driving tests for you there in New York City, they're only 8 to 12 minutes, whereas most of the testing that I've been accustomed to, well, tractor trailer units are 2.5 hour tests. In passenger vehicles, most of the here in Canada are usually anywhere between 15 and 25, anywhere even up to 40 minutes, so they can be fairly lengthy here in Canada. So they're considerably longer than what they are there. So it may be that it just might be a product of shorter road tests there in the States. Okay, Kay, thanks for all your videos and great tips. Excellent. We're glad we can help out, Kay. Kyle, just wondering if you saw my comment about the tires. Kyle, I believe I did. I think I responded to that one, Kyle. Just remind me again what the comment was, and I'll be able to talk to that. Avery, how are you doing? Excellent. Shady, got lucky on my parallel parking. Awesome. Avery, that's awesome that you passed your road test. Congratulations on that. That's really, really great. If you can go over to the Smart Drive Test website and sign up for the 100K campaign, that would be really awesome. Excellent. Shady, my advice to anyone taking their test, make sure you check your blind spots. Yes, you cannot shoulder check too much on a road test, and it's minimum 2 times shoulder checking for any time that you're going to move the vehicle sideways. So if you're making a lane change, anytime that you're turning, it's 2 shoulder checks minimum. One approximately half a block from where you're going to turn or you're going to make lane change, and then it's immediately before moving the vehicle sideways or making a turn, you have to shoulder check. It is a key component of observation for the purposes of passing a road test. If you don't shoulder check, you are not going to be successful on a road test. And as well, you need to do it in a commercial vehicle. And I'll tell you, there's been number of times, and even on this latest trip, I can remember this. I was going to make a lane change, flipped the signal on, went to shoulder check, and there's a car like right beside you, because they're just back far enough when you check your mirror that they're right in your blind spot. And unless you shoulder check when you're changing lanes, you're not going to see that vehicle. And let me tell you, it's a bit of a startle when you kind of zone out for a few moments when you're driving, and then you go to make a lane change, you throw the signal on, and you look over and there's a car like right beside you pacing you. So even if after you get your road test, do not lose shoulder checking and checking your blind areas, because it will save your bacon, so to speak. Okay. Okay, Kyle, just that our tires will be 6 to 10 years old. Oh, yes. Kyle, excellent. 6 years, 10 months. No, you're going to be fine. The age on tires, Kyle, is 8 years. Have a look at the video. Corey will put it up for you. It's the interview with Gary at Tireland, and he was talking about that 8-year-old tires. 8 years is the cutoff on tires, so you're going to be fine on 6 year, 10 those tires, but you're going to be thinking about replacing those in the next year, because they are going to be reaching their shelf life. All right. Many articles that say tires degrade by 6 years. 6 years, actually, Gary said it was 8 years. So just have a look at that, and then you're going to go from there. Okay? I think, Panas, we're getting up to the 200 mark. It's not going in the big zoom that I thought it was, but we've got some plans in place here, and we've been kind of standing back and reassessing things, and we're going to start moving forward here. So we're going to get going. Okay. Be more happy after getting my driver's license or getting a new car. I would be more happy to get the license. Getting license like winning the gold medal. Yeah, I think you're right, Mohinder, because you're gonna have lots of cars in the course of your life. Okay, Changa, is the driving test similar to the UK? No, the driving test in North America, depending on where you are, Changa, is going to be different than it is going to be in the UK. Especially if you're in London, places like that, it's going to be a lot more strict. And there are different rules for parallel parking. I've watched some videos on the parallel parking there. You get to back up a fair distance. It's almost 2 car lengths before you have to pull forward. So there are some differences. There are some similarities. But I would suggest that you watch some of the other channels on road tests in the UK. But, you know, eventually down the road, sort of phase 3 for the Smart Drive test is to start to go to other countries and looking at their driving tests and those types of things and getting some information for international students who are going to be taking road tests in other parts of the world. Okay? Excellent. So that's all awesome. What is a soft shoulder sign? Fee. Soft shoulder. I've seen them. I can't say those. Fee, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look that up for you. I'll get back to you on that question because I'll look up the sign because I don't want to give you the wrong information. It's been a while since I've seen a soft shoulder sign. I'll know one as soon as I see it. If anybody else, any of the other smart drivers watching now or watching on the replay, if you know what a soft shoulder sign is, have a look. The other thing, Fee, that you'll get is it's not a soft shoulder sign. The one that I'm thinking of is uneven pavement. For example, if they're doing road work and they've paved one lane and then the other lane hasn't been paved but they've ground off the top of the pavement, you'll get a picture of the road surface that goes like this, and the car will be on kind of an angle. That will show you that it's off, you know, that the road surface isn't even, and that's dangerous for motorcycles. Motorcycles need to be aware of that. Soft shoulder, sometimes it'll just have a sign that will say, so it'll be a temporary construction sign, so it'll be black writing on an orange background. It will say soft shoulder, or it will just be a sign that says soft shoulder, so there won't be any symbols. It'll actually be letters that will tell you that it is in fact a soft shoulder. And it is going to be this time of year, for those of us who just came out of winter with lots of snow. The ground was frozen and now the frost is beginning to melt in the ground, which makes it unstable. So you're going to get soft shoulders at this time of year. And for CDL drivers, have a look. And Corey, I'll put the video up for you on frost laws. I did the video a long time ago. It was one of my first videos. And it basically talks about shoulders of roads being unstable. And if you're driving a large vehicle, do not go onto the shoulder of the road. And I'll tell you a funny story about that I tell in the video. When I was driving for Quick X years ago, a guy north of Ottawa on Highway 17 driving a tractor trailer stopped over on the side of the shoulder of the road to have a pee, got out of the truck having a pee, and the truck kind of went and it flopped over because what happened was the frost was coming out of the ground, the shoulder was really soft and would not support the 100,000-pound truck, and the shoulder just gave way and the truck flopped over and he's standing on the side of the road, you know, with his penis out. And, you know, and the truck flopped over. So not good. So know that for those of you this time of year driving large vehicles. All right. Yeah, so we're just going to wrap up here near the end here. Excellent. And ending. There we go. All right. So be sure to head over to the Smart Drive Test website and pick up your road test checklist, especially for those of you going for a road test in the next week or two. Yes, and that will help you out in terms of passing your road test and being successful as well. Pass your road test first time. If you get the coupon down in the bottom there, you'll get 30% off, and you can pick that up for about $27. All right, and it will guarantee that you pass your road test first time. All right, so all right. So Sam says a soft shoulder is a patch of dirt off the highway, and yes, if you're off into the gravel, it's going to be a very different experience, especially if you experience shoulder drop-off, and I need to get a video done on that as well. Panas, I mean, why the government takes so much money from you when you get a car? Panas, they have to pay for the roads, and taxes on your vehicles and licensing are all part of that in terms of paying for the roads and keeping the roads well maintained so we can drive on them. All right. There we go. So Jonathan has an explanation for potholes, so that's excellent. So thank you everybody for showing up. And if you've passed a road test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on that. And be sure to head over to the Smart Drive Test website and sign up for the 100K campaign. Thank you for all your questions. If you're new, consider subscribing to the Smart Drive Test channel. Drive that subscribe button. It's my new saying for the day. Epic is here. Had an instant of a driving examiner tell me to go straight to the cone. Not sure what that is, Epic. Maybe we can pick that up in the comments here afterwards. All right, and again, if you're going for a road test in the next couple of weeks, good luck on your road test. And if you have any questions at all, leave us a question. If you're watching on the replay, let us know where you're tuning in from and what class of license you're going for. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.